the creator itself or himself or herself. So in that concept, all the worldly and day-to-day karmic accounts we usually go through, do we need to maintain that thought process of Veda Aham Brahmasmi concept in junction, in coordination with our daily karmic accounts?
So I think that one of the danger that I've heard that somebody who studies the Vedanta and Brahmasmi can suddenly create a big fat ego. Okay, I'm everything. I don't need to do anything and things like that. We don't have that experience yet.
No.
So that we cannot have that humility. When we say, when they talk about humility, the true humility only comes to people who are self-realized. Until then, we are not there yet. So we cannot drop our practices and all that. And as far as karma and all that, I think there's a very great explanation by Vivekanandaji that Sarvapriyanandaji always talks about, that karma affects those who live in that, name and form world. Obviously, the karma affects them. But there is a state beyond it, that akarma mode and all that. So if somebody goes into that state, they work from a different perspective then. They work a lot. They will be doing, and they might be doing even their daily. There are self-realized people who don't go out and teach and all that. Mm-hmm. But they just do their whatever they were doing before, only they keep continuing. But other people come and connect with them because they find something special. Like Kabir ji. I heard that वो बुनते थे, कुछ करते थे, right? जुलाहा थे, right? He used, and he continued doing that. Other people just came and talked to him in the evening and stuff like that. So there is a saying also. There was this saying from this Buddhist thing, I think, that before realization, he was bringing the water from the well, and after realization, he's still doing it.
I thought about this quite a bit earlier, and the best example is Shiv. He's always meditating. And he is the ultimate. So everything else falls below that.
Right. Mm-hmm. So in our case, being a human, we can meditate internally without others be realized that you are meditating while doing your karmic accounts.
Oh yeah, I mean that Krishna Bhagwan, it's going to come in Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 9, it's just beautiful. It's going to come. Every action that you do, you dedicate to me. So every action becomes a puja. Mm-hmm. And for the children, we used to always say that, everybody has heard the Shabri ki story, right?
Right.
That वो झाड़ू लगाती थी रोज because वो राम जी आएंगे, because उनके गुरु ने बोल दिया Ram is going to come. And for years, she used to do the झाड़ू as though he's coming today. She would clean the whole place. She would put flowers. She would do the bear, everything. So her jhadu became puja. Mm-hmm. The lowest kind of work became the puja for her. Finally, she got Ram. Because she had that bhav in her. So Krishna Bhagwan is going to say that, offer everything to me. That's what actual true karma yoga is. That's why karma yoga, people get all confused. Oh, I have to do some... say this seva, that seva. No, whatever falls in your plate, if you do it, that's good enough. If somebody needs you, they'll come to you, and then you do it the best way you can, So you get a little more understanding. When we go to other chapters, it's going to open up a lot more.
Thank you.
Anybody has anything to share on any spiritual topic or want to add anything about what we learned? This is the time. Okay, if not, then we can meet again. Okay. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time then.
Hari Om, Mamaji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, everyone.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karva Vahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, so we had not read that Swamiji's commentary on verse 14. We had already explained everything. And basically over here in this verse, the wise people who realize this self, Aitad Vaitad, they perceive it, this indestructible highest bliss, indescribable highest bliss, meaning the one that you cannot explain anyone. And अनिर्देश्यम, जिसका निर्देश नहीं दिया जा सकता. And how shall I know that? तो एक तरफ तो बोल रहे हैं निर्देश नहीं दिया जा सकता, एक तरफ बोल रहे हैं you have to transcend mind and intellect. So who's going to understand? Mind ही नहीं होगा तो कौन इसको understand करेगा? And there's a question at the end. Hey, does it shine by itself or by another light? You're saying who's asking that question? Every seeker. That was the conclusion. That हम सबको लगता है कि मैं पहचानूंगी कैसे? Like without the mind. That question comes to everybody. So this is the verse. Let's see what Swamiji says to say, and the answer is given in the next one. Any volunteer to read this? Anil ji, you want to read?
The sages perceive that describable highest bliss as this is that. How shall I know that? Does it shine by itself or does it shine by another light? This mantra can be considered as a question raised by Lord Death himself, only to be answered by himself in the next mantra. But personally, Chimnya would like to understand it as a sincere question raised by the supreme student of Vedanta in Nachiketa.
Yeah, so basically, here is another thing, point that over here in Vedanta, it's absolutely okay to ask question. Because, anybody needs to blindly follow, but you have to intellectually get convinced.
In a previous stanza, Lord Death had already explained that the self is beyond the sense perceptions or the mind's cognition or the intellect's determinations. Yet, in the last two stanzas, Lord Death has dilating upon the sure and permanent joys of those who come to behold the self. Naturally, the intelligent students feel confused. Again, in the first half of the very same mantra, Lord Death asserts that the men of discrimination during their deep meditations come to the divine achievement of realizing the all-pervading truth intimately in a subjective experience as this is that.
So basically what I'm saying is a complete contradiction over here. He's talking about that. That is a hallmark of Vedanta anyway, and all the Upanishad. On one hand, they are saying that, in indescribable, it is beyond sense perception. And then he's saying only by realizing this, you get the final peace, eternal happiness. तो एक तरफ तो इसको समझाया नहीं जा सकता, लेकिन इससे ये सिर्फ इसी से मिल सकती है ये permanent happiness and all that. And then it's saying that he also said that the men of discrimination during his deep meditation come realize this all-pervading self. So, and then he knows this, that, hey, this that I am realizing is that all the Shruti and all are talking about, Mahatmas are talking about. How do I reconcile this whole thing? How do I get to it? That's what the whole question is.
tad etaditi. This is that. Truth is not perceived or felt or determined. Perception, feeling, and determination are the functions of the sense organs, the mind and the intellect, respectively. And these three can function only in the plane of plurality, the world of sense objects, thoughts, and ideas. When the intelligent sage has successfully withdrawn all his ideas of identification with these three, at that moment, when he has thus completely transcended himself beyond the painful limitations of these three, he comes to realize that what he has till now been seeking was the nearest factor in him, his own self.
So basically, whatever we have learned in the past, he's talking about that he's saying, and he's telling in more scientific terms that, truth cannot be perceived or determined because all these quality of perception, feeling, and determination are function of sense organs, mind, and intellect. Because, and simply putting, if I have to, one time I heard a talk by Sir Priyanandji, and, he goes in a very deep analysis and, all this psychological thing and all that. And he was explaining that how in the world, if I want to explain anything, there are some criteria to it. that कोई एक जाति का होना चाहिए, वो ऐसा form होना चाहिए, ये होना चाहिए, वो होना चाहिए. None of that applies to the Brahman because it's limitless. Like I say, if I want to point to something, I can say, oh, this house is not a car, it's a two separate entity. But to say something which is everything, how can I point to it? See what I'm saying? I'm just giving an example. So, and that's one point. And the second point, I still remember that there was some lady Mahatma who had come that I had gone for a talk, when earlier part of my life when I didn't understand this completely. And she kept saying something about, transcending the intellect. And I was getting confused. What is intellect actually? So I still remember her answer. It's saying intellect is something that dissects, cut like a knife. उसको ना ऐसे टुकड़े टुकड़े कर देता है intellect. भाई ये वो like you see what I'm trying to say? That when you see a person, he's a Punjabi, he lives in this and separating constantly with something, or lives in this town and all, that's intellect's job. But you are trying to go away from it. You are oneness की तरफ जा रहे हो तो intellect का क्या काम होगा वहाँ पे? Intellect is going to be a hurdle to you because it's going to show you the differences and you are trying not to see the difference. See what I'm trying to say? It's like a very technical thing that why you have to transcend that intellect, because immediately our tendency is to divide constantly. And he's saying that here it is the opposite. And that can happen once we understand the nature of self. Then you develop that compassion towards everybody and all that everybody is one and things like that. So that's what Swamiji is trying to explain over here, that with our body, mind, intellect, we'll never be able to perceive that Brahman because it's exactly opposite of it.
Mamaji, is that also the state of complete thoughtlessness?
Yeah, exactly. We have a hard time imagining, but at one explanation, our Guru Dev has explained, Chinmayanandji, very well, that thoughtlessness is also desirelessness, he calls it.
Yes.
Because sometimes we get confused. That person who has desirelessness is in that. Thoughtlessness is, when you are not wool gathering in your head. Ye ho jayega, wo ho jayega, things like that. You just take as it is, live in the present. That is called in spirituality thoughtlessness. Not like you become like, koi thoughts hi nahi aa raha and you become like a dead person. Not like that at all. So we have to understand the definition of thoughtlessness. Because we get confused about it. Yeah.
At this moment, the disciple is raising his doubt, which is marked by his own understanding of the philosophical discourses so far given by his master. When the sense organs, the mind and the intellect are flouted and transcended, Nachiketa asks what exactly would be the nature of the instrument used, and the individual who used the instrument is realizing the self as this is that. Even those of you who can at least come to appreciate at this moment of our discussion the entire implications in the doubt of Nachiketa can be considered to have thoroughly followed all the discussions made by the Shruti so far.
So basically all he's trying to say, okay, if I transcend my mind and intellect, मैं जानूंगा कैसे, जानूंगी कैसे? That's the question over here. It's very simple in some ways. Because, we are too afraid to think that beyond mind and intellect, because हमको लगता है कि हमको सारी बातें सिर्फ mind and intellect से समझ में आ जाती है. But if you think about it, we have another faculty and it's called intuition also, which is beyond. Sometimes we know, and I cannot explain it through my intellect and mind why I know this particular thing. That's intuitive level. That's a separate thing. But here, basically, he is talking about that if once I transcend, how will I know it? That's the question.
We have already shown in a previous discussion how in order to cognize and understand an object, we need the help of light. We then also found that for perceiving the gross light of the physical world and in seeing the subtler objects of the mind, such as thought and so on, we have the light of intelligence. So far, Nachiketa also seems to have understood well, but when Lord Death says that the seer of Vedanta, transcending the regions of his mind and intellect, comes to behold the self, the Brahman child feels confused.
Yeah, the Brahman child feels confused. So basically, we know that there are two different kinds of lights they're talking about. One is a physical light. All the physical objects we cannot see without the light. That everybody knows. And then he also talked about the light of intelligence. With that light of intelligence, I recognize, and they are saying, hey, you transcend that. So then he get confused. ये दोनों लाइट ही नहीं होगी तो फिर मैं किस लाइट में देखूंगा? That's what he's asking. Okay.
But Umaji, is he also saying that at that time self is the illuminating light?
Yes, exactly. That's what he's saying. But he's just, clearing every doubt along the way. I think a lot of us already know the answer because it is like, that is a power that gives lights to everything.
Right.
Then how can you see? And, our teacher sometimes used to explain to us, and it's a very nice analogy. It's like you have this flashlight होती है ना, right? So आगे से light निकल रही है, उसको light कौन दे रहा है? Battery दे रही है light, है कि नहीं? पीछे battery होती है ना, double D or whatever, double A, whatever battery is there. So now somebody is saying, hey, I want to see the battery. जैसे बैटरी निकाली लाइट भी गायब हो गई. How will I see that? Something like that he's asking, So it is very hard for us to comprehend it. Ki they are talking about the final source where everything is coming out. And nobody can see that source because that is what gives you power to see anyway. Yeah, so the whole thing is coming to that, and the next verse is all about that, but it's explained in that own very poetic language and all that. That's arti that people do, and we will understand why they say that arti and all that. Is very, very beautiful. The answer is coming. अभी तक वो question को ही explain कर रहे हैं. You can imagine कि question भी इतने deep होते हैं कि to learn that question we have to go through this explanation.
But Emoji, is it also saying in other words, this is what can be seen, what cannot be seen, but without which you cannot see anything?
Yes, that's exactly right. That is a conclusion. Yes.
Kimu bhati vibhati. Wow. Does it shine by itself or does it shine by another light? A lamp is seen because of its own light, as opposed to the dull objects which get their light borrowed from a lamp.
So even a lamp, in example, is self-illuminating. So you need the lamp as complete darkness में You need a lamp to see other objects, but to see the lamp, you don't need any other light because it's self-illuminating.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how we have to understand it. Yeah.
In the philosophy of Vedanta, the question is answered by the great masters very vividly. It is a case of the self becoming aware of itself. When the meditator has successfully hushed the mind and the intellect in the throbbing silence within, his awareness becomes conscious of itself. I thought this was the most important line.
Yes. That is the final stage of meditation that he's talking about. Yes.
This is a state of intuitive experience and not a physical cognition. It is to show the intimate self-awareness of the self that we have in the inimitable language and style of the scripture, the expression, this is that.
So he's just talking about, even though it is undescribable, but they try very hard to describe it. So all these words that he's using, self-awareness of the self, that's why if the word is self-realization. It's not like self-discovery, or you can call it, I don't know. But basically, it's not like you're getting something outside. You're just finally recognizing who you are. When I say, who am I? Somewhere. So it's the final thing he's talking about. Self-recognition.
It's always there. It was always there.
Yes. It's always there.
It's a matter of you realizing it is there.
That's what it is. Exactly.
The self being itself the light of wisdom needs no other light to light itself. When the clouds have moved away, the sun that comes out from behind these screening clouds needs no other torch to make us to see him, he being in the nature of nothing but a mass of light. Similarly, when the wailing disturbances of the mind and the intellect caused by our own ignorance of the self are stopped, the Atma in its own self-elegance comes out to shine forth in all glory. Intelligence needs no other intelligence to light itself.
So that's why they call it,
No, please, you go ahead.
Is there something more?
No, I was going to read the next line.
Yeah, read it, then we'll do it. Mm-hmm.
In the next mantra, we have the answer to the question raised in this stanza.
And then in mine, do you have the 12 to 14, the summary of it? You have it in yours? No,
I don't.
Okay, here it is. The supreme eternal truth revels within as the inner self, and the wise realizing it in his heart attains in enduring peace and bliss. So we saw that he realizing in his own heart attains enduring peace and bliss. How is such a vision possible? Self is all knowledge, and as such to reach it is to know it, experience it. So basically it's telling you, just like we bolte na, Sat Chit Anand. Everything is that thing, and that's why you get that eternal bliss you get. And then it is knowledge itself. We have a very hard time imagining. जो हम लोग को इंटेलिजेंस का पावर मिलता है ना, बुद्धि का पावर, वहीं से borrowed है. Like people say, oh, that person is so intelligent. No, it is expressing, little extra in that person, that effulgence. That's all is happening. So he's saying it is intelligence itself, meaning, that light of intelligence itself. So you don't need any other thing for it. And then the sun is the best example also, that when हम बोलते सूरज डूब गया या अंधेरा हो गया, actually सूरज कभी डूबता ही नहीं है. Earth is rotating, that's why it has become like that. Or दिन में कभी बहुत बादल छा गए, So it's not like that, उसने सूरज को ढक दिया. किसी ने बोला बादल की औकात ही नहीं है कि वो सूरज को ढक सके. Right? Because it is such a flimsy thing. But from our angle where we are sitting, it looks like that. It got covered and all that. But the moment it starts moving away, it's already there. So it's a very nice analogy that the cloud of ignorance, when it's gone, You don't need any other light because it's self-effulgent. I think that to me, just this poetic language and all that is so nice because we don't have that experience, so we still don't know. But at least we have to have the by now we should have all Shraddha. That hey, there's something like that exists, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So I think that people who do experience this, either they become completely silent or they start dancing in ecstasy and people think they're mad. And the third kind, are like Chinmayananji and, probably Sadhguru and all who try to explain in their own words. And some people criticize them so much for that. Oh, isne aisa bola waisa. They're trying so hard to give you that experience. Some people may appreciate, others you don't even appreciate it. Or something like Jesus, that's what he was trying to, in his own words, telling his experience, and a group of people absolutely did not believe him. So all those examples are there of this final experience, that what actually it is.
That's why they say they're all trying to point out, because you cannot. You have to experience. You have to become that. Yeah. They can only point out. Your guru can point out. The rest is up to you to become that.
Right.
And that's the thing.
So in the same context, sometimes people ask questions like that. Hey, is that Falana person self-realized? And then people start judging with the criteria and all that. And what Chinmayananji would say, only another self-realized person can recognize him. You are not even capable of recognizing. Don't even ask. and then, it was, I think, Vivekanandaji who said, all the questions are on the ignorant side.
Right.
The moment you get knowledge, all the questions are gone anyway. No questions left.
Yeah.
So they try to explain it in all different ways,
Umaji, just I wanted to us to concentrate a little bit in about a couple of minutes on the last paragraph of page 259, second sentence. When the meditator has successfully hushed the mind and the intellect in throbbing silence within, his awareness becomes conscious of itself. This is a state of intuitive experience, not a physical cognition. So the earlier you mentioned that somewhere you mentioned about the example of intuition. So it is, I just want to, somebody to, you to explain that when you say intuitive experience, not a physical cognition, that means that physical cognition comes from intelligence as well as from the mind, from the sense organs.
Yeah, I think so.
Whereas intuition is beyond the sense organs. Right?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think
a couple of minutes ago about the intuition. Yeah, that's why I just wanted us to a little bit of time on that aspect.
I think that one of the ways that Chinmayananji explains is that God cannot become the object of your senses or your mind or intellect. Like you cannot objectify. Because even when say Krishna Bhagwan, when we talk about the form, that's not real Krishna Bhagwan. When he say I am the souls, in everybody's heart, he's talking about at a very fundamental level.
Right.
So that comes as the what you call self-awareness of the self. Yeah, it cannot be an object. That's why I love this saying. It's by Osho that you cannot see God, but you can be God. Because you cannot tell somebody that like, hey, where is God? Or you can point to this. Oh, this is God. That it's not possible. It has to be recognized in your own heart. And I think the most beautiful example to me is the river and the ocean. All the water, it becomes, collects as a river, and then finally it goes into the ocean. The moment it goes into ocean, it becomes the ocean.
Right.
That's what they're talking about. So, we only know from the Mahatmas or reading this and all that. We don't have that experience yet. But the beauty is there in the whole thing. And that's why these people become so compassionate, because then they look at the whole universe as themselves. If somebody is in trouble, they want to go help them the best way that they can. And they don't look down upon anything either. Because they see this whole collective.
Again, it says self-awareness of the self.
Right. That same, go back to the river and the ocean. It's like the river, or even the drop got separated and thinks that, I'm this individual entity. When it falls into the ocean, I am the ocean, like that. So let's see. We can just do I can chant and do the Sanskrit part, and then at least we can move forward a little bit then, right? We still have some 5 minutes. So should we go to the next verse, 15? Get started with it a little bit. So this is the verse that is very, very famous. It's not only in this Upanishad, but 2 other Upanishads also. I think it's called Mundaka Upanishad and Shvetashwar Upanishad. Same, and I think Swamiji's commentary, he said that they're slightly different, but exactly same idea is there. And this is, we literally, all the Chinmaya Mission people have it memorized because they do it as Aarti over here. So the verse is, Na tatra suryo bhanti na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. And here it says, iti katho kopanishadi dvitiya dhyaye panchami valli, because this was the last one, so it says it got finished. So tatra is there, surya, the sun, na bhati, does not shine, na chandra, nor does the moon, tarakam, nor does the star, no ima, no, not these, vidyut is lightning, bhanti, shine, kutaha, how, ayam, this, agni, fire, tam, that, eva, verily, bhantam, shines, anubhati, shines after. So एक होता है भाति और एक अनुभूति. Sarvam, all, tasya is by his, bhasa by light, sarvam idam, all these, vibhati shines. So what is he saying over here? Just few minutes we'll do, and then we will continue. Maybe we'll give you something to think. So here, I wanted to tell that it's talking about all the different sources of light that we as humans know. It covered everything. Starting with the sun. Everybody knows the sun. The next one at night time, when the moon has some light in it, especially, full moon night, it has a tremendous light. Not as much as sun, but at least you can recognize everything. So you have sun, moon, and then the other luminous things we see is tare, stars. And then we see lightning. And he said lightning, he was explaining, Tejamananji, that even if it's a flash of light, it's so strong, within that flash you can see everything, And the rest is Agni. Anytime you light a fire, it can be a lamp or it can be another kind of fire, there will be light. So that's it. There is no other. And Vidyut mein unhone kaha ki electricity bhi aa jati hai. Because, Vidyut, if you translate it from Sanskrit to English, it is electricity. So all the electrical things which are luminous, it's coming from that electricity, basically. So they covered all that. And it's saying almost that these lights, वहाँ उस ब्रह्मन में ये सब कुछ नहीं है. But there is a deeper meaning behind it. And exactly what Anilji was saying, that the reason the reach is not there of these, because that one gives light to these people. Or not these people, meaning these things. It is the source of light for them. इसीलिए उनकी पहुंच नहीं है वहां पे. Means, ये सब physical light में उसको पहचाना नहीं जा सकता है. That's another way of looking at it. So just churn upon this because we will take it up more next time. It's already time up, but something to contemplate upon. Now,
Just one question, Umaji, about this one.
yeah.
Is it also saying that once you realize self, then everything becomes very clear to you?
Yes.
Everything is illuminated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, even from the worldly perspective, if something is known to a scientist by its core, he knows everything about it then.
Yes.
Because he's gone to the depth. Somebody who knows H2O at the core will know everything the water can do. See what I'm saying? Something like that. So you're right. Yeah. But this verse, the reason they do it at the time of आरती, you can look at it as, मैं भगवान को क्या आरती दे सकता हूँ, ये आरती का जो सोर्स है वही वो है. See what I'm saying? इसके लिए बोलते हैं वहाँ पर ये आरती करते के टाइम पे don't get कि मैं कुछ आरती कर रही हूँ, सब कोई महान कार्य कर रही हूँ, because everything is coming from him only.
The little lamp that you light, that's what it means. How can it light you? Because
Yes,
you are the source
you are the source of it. और एक बहुत सुंदर भजन है कि if I can find it, I will send it, कि अजब हैरान हूँ मैं कैसे रिझाऊँ तुझको, something like that. उसका भाव है, हाँ, because it's saying that जो फूल मैं तेरे को चढ़ा रहा हूँ वो तेरे ही गार्डन से लिया मैंने.
Yeah.
and you're like, I made a murti of you. You are the source of all the murtis in the world. Means all the people in the world, I'm trying to make your murti. How silly. Something like that, So it's a very beautiful bhajan. It comes from the same bhav that, everything is coming from him. And Swamiji already said it in one of his explanation that was so beautiful. He said that whatever we do in this world, nothing new we are doing. Somebody might have an arrogance, I did this discovery, blah, blah. No, you are taking some toys of God and just mixing it and calling it your own. यहाँ से लिया, वहाँ से लिया, misappropriating from his own garden, he said. Because it is garden of Bhagwan, and you are just taking it from there. And then they're calling it mine, or something. Or I did this, I did that.
Look who's taking it. He himself is taking it.
True.
So,
At the end, it's just playing with himself only.
with himself. He is playing with whatever.
Yeah.
He is. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
You cannot even describe playing because he alone is.
But people, when they have that, start getting the ego, that's when you have to remind yourself that, it's like, so like our teacher used to say, it's like little children, going to the sand and playing, I made this castle and this and that. So saying our castles are like that only. we didn't bring anything with us, So I think it's coming. This is the last part of this Valli, and then the next section is going to go more deep into practices and things like that. But
when you go deep into it, if you keep on going, who's asking the question, who are you? You end up with you.
Exactly.
If you keep on questioning and answering, the ultimate is just, it is or you, and that's it. I am.
Yeah. So I think that along the same line that Sarvapriyananji always quotes this, I don't know the name of the philosopher who said that why was this world created? He's saying God just got bored of himself and he said, I want to play a game. Yeah. So he made which is not God. Opposite. And he's one, so he said, I'm going to do many. Joke वो नहीं है, उसका सारा opposite किया उन्होंने so that they can play. That's all it is. I thought the explanation was very beautiful because it's like, क्यों बनाई दुनिया? Nobody has an answer. Some of these philosophers come up with beautiful answers that satisfy us a little bit, And I was reading a book and he also gave a very good explanation. He said that suppose you are given everything in the world that you want. Everything. And then you're sitting in this beautiful palace and all that. And after a while, you are going to get bored with yourself and you will say, I want to see, what is in that next house.
Yes.
So we have this illusion कि मेरे को ये सब मिल गया तो मैं बहुत खुश हो जाऊंगी. You're not gonna be until you realize you're just playing a game with yourself only.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. Okay, I think we had anybody has any burning doubt or any question about this, whatever we did? We're going to go more into detail. Okay, then I'm going to close the class here. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.